Into a wild idea from Mahayana Buddhism today. It's this concept that everything has the one taste. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, and it's a pretty profound concept when you really start to unpack it.
So we're calling this deep dive the yoga of one taste, and we're going to be exploring it mainly through Dan Brown's dissertation on the subject. He really gets into the nitty-gritty of this specific type of meditation in the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Right.
what does it even mean for everything to have the same taste? Like, I'm looking around and I'm experiencing all sorts of different things, colors, sounds, textures, smells. How can it all be the one taste?
Well, that's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a paradox that Buddhists have been wrestling with for centuries. This idea of one taste is really rooted in the Buddhist concept of emptiness.
Okay, emptiness. Now we're getting into some pretty heady territory. Can you break that down for us a bit? What does emptiness mean in this context?
So emptiness doesn't mean that things don't exist. It's more about recognizing that things are a bit more fluid and interconnected than we typically perceive them to be. Like, think about a soap bubble.
Okay.
It seems solid, right?
Yeah.
We even have those beautiful swirling colors.
Right.
But what is it truly made of? Mostly just air.
Yeah, good point.
Emptiness is kind of similar. It's about peering past the seeming solidity of things, seeing their more spacious, interconnected nature.
So like how our senses can sometimes trick us, but instead of it just being an optical illusion, it's more about the very nature of reality itself.
Exactly. And to be clear, this meditation isn't about denying our sensory experiences. We still see a red traffic light as different from a green one.
Of course.
It's about recognizing a deeper truth that underlies those perceptions.
Okay, that's helpful. So we're kind of laying the groundwork here with this concept of emptiness.
Right.
But how do we get from there to everything having the one taste? How does this meditation actually work, or what are we supposed to do?
So imagine, if you will, experiencing the full spectrum of human emotions and sensations. A wave of joy, the sting of sorrow, the excitement of a new adventure, or even just the boredom of a traffic jam. Imagine experiencing all of that with the same underlying sense of equanimity. That's the heart of the yoga of one taste.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this. You're saying it's not about erasing our feelings or pretending we don't experience the world in all its messy glory.
Precisely. In fact, the text emphasizes that our experiences, all of them, still arise. We don't shut them out or try to suppress them, but instead of being swept away by them, we learn to observe them with a more profound sense of awareness. We start to see them for what they truly are, impermanent and interconnected, just like that soap bubble.
So it's about changing our relationship to our experiences, not eliminating them altogether.
You got it.
But how do we actually do that? Do we just sit around and think about emptiness? Because honestly, that sounds a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, it's not quite as simple as just thinking about it. It's actually more about cultivating a very particular type of attention. And the text refers to this as pointing out instructions.
Yeah. Pointing out instructions.
Yeah, and it highlights the crucial role of a teacher in this practice.
Interesting. So what's so special about these pointing out instructions, and why is a teacher necessary for this kind of meditation?
Well, imagine trying to grasp a really complex scientific concept on your own.
Okay.
Like, sometimes you can read all the textbooks in the world, but you still need an expert to guide you, right? To point out the crucial insight that suddenly makes it all click.
Ah, that aha moment.
Precisely. And in the same way, even with all the preparation in the world, the shift to experiencing everything as one taste is so profound that it requires this direct transmission from a teacher. They can provide personalized guidance tailored to your specific experiences and challenges to help you make that leap in understanding. It's like having a personal tour guide to the depth of your own consciousness. They've already traversed that territory and can provide invaluable support along the way.
So it's like having a personalized roadmap.
Exactly. And this is where another fascinating aspect of the Yoga One Taste comes in. It suggests that through this practice, even our ordinary everyday thoughts and perceptions, those things we usually try to quiet down or push away in meditation, can actually become expressions of wisdom.
Now that's what I call a plot twist. I always thought meditation was all about silencing the mind, not embracing our everyday thoughts. How can those become sources of wisdom? They seem like more of a distraction, if anything.
That's where the one taste perspective comes in. Instead of seeing our thoughts and feelings as distractions or obstacles on the path to enlightenment, we can meet them with a sense of openness and curiosity, almost like
they're unexpected visitors.
Exactly, like unexpected visitors. Instead of shooing them away, we welcome them in, offer them a cup of tea, and see what they have to say. Yeah, well, we can offer those thoughts a cup of tea and just kind of hang out with them for a bit. And as we observe those thoughts through the lens of one taste, we can start to see their impermanent, ever-changing nature.
So we're not trying to get rid of those thoughts or pretend they're not there.
Right. We're not trying to get rid of them. Instead, we're recognizing that they arise and pass away, just like waves on the ocean,
Oh, I like that.
all the while resting on that vast, unchanging ground of emptiness.
Okay, that's a really powerful image. So we're not trying to stop the waves from coming, but rather learning to surf them with a newfound sense of awareness and equanimity.
You got it.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it. And with practice, we can even start to see how those very thoughts and feelings, even the messy or uncomfortable ones, can contain profound insights. It's like that powerful quote from the text, "Mistakes arise as wisdom."
Mistakes arise as wisdom. That's quite a statement. It's almost as if through this practice, we can transform those oops moments into opportunities for growth.
That's the amazing thing about the yoga of one taste. It's not about achieving some kind of blissful ignorance where we never make mistakes or experience difficult emotions. It's about radically changing our relationship to all of our experiences, even the messy and challenging ones.
So it's not about transcending the messiness of life, but rather finding a new way to be present within it. I can see how that could be incredibly liberating. But let's bring this back down to earth for a moment. We're talking about some pretty profound concepts here. What does this all mean for someone like me, someone who's not a monk or a meditation master, just trying to navigate the everyday ups and downs of life?
That's such an important question. That's a question that I think a lot of people have when they first encounter these teachings. The beauty of these practices is that even if we only catch glimpses of this one taste, even if it's just for a few moments here and there, it can have a profound impact on how we experience life. By recognizing that our thoughts and emotions are impermanent, interconnected, and ultimately empty, we can start to relate to them with more spaciousness and ease.
So instead of getting so caught up in those waves of anger, sadness, or even those exhilarating highs, we can ride them with a bit more grace and balance.
Exactly. It's like learning to surf. At first, those waves might seem overwhelming, but with practice, we learn to navigate them with more skill and even find joy in the ride.
That's a fantastic analogy. And that brings us to a question that has been lingering in the back of my mind throughout this entire deep dive. If, as the text suggests, everything we experience is ultimately an expression of this one taste, what does that tell us about the nature of reality itself?
Now, that is a profound question.
Yeah.
And it's one that's been contemplated by philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries. Really, it's a question that invites each of us to look deeply into our own experience and draw our own conclusions. What if, beneath the surface of our perceptions, beneath the apparent solidity and separation of the world around us, there exists a fundamental unity, a thatness that connects us all?
It really is. It's kind of mind-blowing when you really let that idea sink in. But for now, I think this is a good place to maybe wrap things up.
Yeah.
This concept of one taste, this yoga of one taste, it's a lot to take in.
It really is. And even just starting to kind of dip our toes into these ideas, it can be a lot.
Absolutely. But it's fascinating, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the key takeaway here, at least for me, is that this one taste isn't something that's like way out there, reserved only for monks or mystics.
Right.
It's something that's accessible to all of us in every moment.
Yeah.
Like right now, as we're talking, as you're listening, we can tune into that underlying unity, that one taste that connects us all.
It's always there, beneath the surface.
Exactly. And I think that's a really beautiful and hopeful thought.
It is. It is. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the yoga of one taste. It's been a truly thought-provoking conversation.
The pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me.
And to all of you listening, thank you for coming along for the ride. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.